What would you do if an old black woman carried the truth into a courtroom, only to have a young lawyer kick her papers like garbage? At 72, Evelyn Carter came not for herself, but for her grandson, fighting against false charges born of prejudice. They laughed as her documents scattered, as if history itself could be shoved aside. But one page carried a seal powerful enough to silence the room. Would justice finally bow to the truth she held? The courtroom froze when the sharp slap of a shoe struck paper. Pages scattered like fallen leaves across the polished floor. An old black woman, bent with years but standing with dignity, reached instinctively to gather them. "This isn't evidence," the young lawyer sneered, his voice slicing the air, "this is trash." He nudged another sheet with his polished shoe, sending it skidding toward the judge's bench. A ripple of laughter ran through the gallery. One juror coughed to hide a grin. The old woman's hands trembled, but she did not speak. Instead, she bent slowly, her fingers brushing the page that would silence them all. For in the pile of discarded papers lay something none of them had expected to see. Her name was Evelyn Carter, 72 years old, a retired schoolteacher who had walked into court carrying nothing but a worn briefcase stuffed with papers. She wasn't here for herself, but for her grandson, a young man accused without proof, targeted because of the color of his skin. Those papers were her evidence, every receipt, every letter, every record that told the truth. The lawyer smirked as she bent down to gather them. "You can't seriously think these scraps matter," he barked, brushing dust from his tailored sleeve. "The court doesn't waste time on fairy tales." His words carried a rhythm meant to humiliate, each syllable echoing against the wood-paneled walls. Evelyn steadied her breath, her knees aching as she rose again. She clutched the papers to her chest, her eyes locked on the bench. "This is my family's truth," she whispered. But the judge didn't look at her. Jurors shifted in their seats, some avoiding her gaze entirely, others shaking their heads. A man in the back row muttered, "Why let her speak at all?" Evelyn's fingers tightened around the papers. They had tried to erase her family before, when schools barred her students, when doors closed in her face. Now, once again, the weight of history pressed down. But one sheet of paper, half hidden beneath the lawyer's polished shoe, carried more power than any insult hurled her way. And soon, the courtroom would see it. The lawyer kicked again, careless, sending one folded page spinning across the floor. It slid to a stop at the foot of the judge's bench. The room stilled. The judge leaned down, brow furrowed, and picked it up. His eyes scanned the page, then froze. The laughter died. This is a Department of Defense certification," he said slowly, voice carrying through the chamber. "Signed by the Pentagon." The lawyer's face drained of color. "That can't be right. She's bluffing." Evelyn straightened, her frail shoulders squaring with quiet resolve. "Those aren't fairy tales," she said, her voice firm now. "My grandson's father served this country with honor. These papers prove where he was when you claimed otherwise." Gasps broke from the gallery. Jurors leaned forward, whispering. The judge adjusted his glasses, rereading the seal. The silence grew heavy, suffocating. The lawyer stammered, words slipping through his teeth. This shouldn't even. But the truth had already spoken louder than him. The paper he'd scuffed beneath his shoe carried the weight of an entire institution. And in that moment, every eye in the courtroom turned, not toward him, but toward the old woman he had tried to humiliate. The judge placed the document carefully on the bench, as if it might burn through the wood. His tone changed, measured and solemn. "This court will not dismiss certified evidence. Mrs. Carter, approach." Evelyn stepped forward slowly, her cane tapping the floor with each step. The papers she held no longer looked fragile, they looked like weapons of truth. The lawyer scrambled, voice cracking. "Objection, this is irregular." Overruled, the judge cut him off, his gavel echoing like thunder. The gallery hushed. No one laughed now. Evelyn set the stack on the table. You tried to bury my family's truth under your shoe, she said evenly. But truth doesn't bend. It rises. The jurors exchanged looks, some nodding, some ashamed. The attorney shifted back, eyes darting to the exits. The power he wielded so easily minutes ago had slipped away, scattered like the papers he'd kicked aside. In that silence, Evelyn Carter, an old woman the court tried to ignore, stood taller than anyone else in the room. The verdict came swift, like a curtain tearing open. Evelyn's grandson was cleared, the false accusations collapsing under the weight of the very documents meant to be trampled. The lawyer who had mocked her stood red-faced, his reputation in tatters, the gallery buzzing with condemnation. Evelyn gathered her papers with steady hands, sliding them back into her worn briefcase. Reporters pressed forward, cameras flashing, but she paused only once, to rest her palm on her grandson's shoulder. "You hold your head high," she whispered. "They can't take that from you." The judge glanced down at her, his voice softer than before. "This court owes you an apology, Mrs. Carter." She did not bow, nor gloat. She simply walked toward the doors, cane tapping against the marble. And behind her, the courtroom seemed to rise with her, as if dignity itself had left the bench and followed the old woman out. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment below and subscribe for more stories.